Teacher Den's here again with another video. If you're new to this channel, right about before we start, hit the subscription button below this video so that you can be part of the community. You can also consider hitting the notification bell just after the subscription button so that you can receive notifications whenever new similar videos are added. In this special video today, we'll look at Excel basics, and we will be covering introduction to Excel interface. We'll look at how to navigate worksheets and workbooks. We'll look at how to perform data entry and formatting basics, and we would conclude our video with how to use formulae and functions to perform calculations. So let's get started. Well, it's very important that we first acquaint ourselves with the meaning of spreadsheets and Microsoft Excel. Right there, Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet software that is used to perform calculations, including creation of graphs. Well, we mentioned about a spreadsheet, so we need to acquaint ourselves about a spreadsheet. The word spreadsheet simply means a grid that organizes data in rows and columns. Apart from Microsoft Excel, we have very many other examples of spreadsheets applications. I would consider Lotus 123 from Lotus MathSuite, Kspread, Apple Numbers, Kingsoft Spreadsheet, Ability Spreadsheets, and many more. Now, we have chosen Microsoft Excel because it is in the suite that is most widely used, that is Microsoft Office. Right about, we're going to jump into our computer and show you how to launch or how to open Microsoft Excel. This is my desktop. We want to take assumptions that you have downloaded Microsoft Office and installed on your computer, and all what you need is perhaps review how we use Microsoft Excel. If you've not downloaded, please consider looking for the other video through this channel, which involves downloading software. Okay, how do you launch Microsoft Excel having installed Microsoft Office? You click the Start button, and from the Start menu, you type Excel, and well, Excel as an app will be retrieved through this menu. You just have to double click on it for it to open. Well, that is Excel. So when you launch Excel, this is the interface you get started with. You have a blank workbook and several templates that you can utilize. You can always consider clicking more templates here to look at the other available spreadsheets that you can just customize or edit in order to acquire your own Microsoft spreadsheet workbook. Okay, now more interestingly, there are more templates categorized according to type. For example, if you have you want to filter business templates, personal, yeah, you just have to click on this tab and then you select the template you'd wish to work with. This being the very first video, it is important that we create a blank workbook and acquaint ourselves through the process of creating from scratches. So I'm going to hit blank workbook. So you click Start, and then when Excel opens, select blank workbook. So this is Microsoft Excel interface. We need to get through the features of this interface as we go on further. Now, just as you saw, at the topmost is the title bar. And then on the extreme right, rather left, we have the quick access toolbar. And then we have the tabs that we're going to explore. And then every tab has its own ribbon. Excel, like we said, has a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet is a grid of columns and rows. If you did observe, the columns, the program entirely consists of columns. Yeah, if you can check here, this is the interface. So just to go through again quickly, and then we go through the discussion. We've said at the topmost bar, we have the title bar. And the title bar displays the program name and then the file name. Below the title bar, we have this part here, which consists of the tabs and then the ribbon. So this is the home tab, this is the insert tab, this is the page layout tab, and every tab consists of a ribbon. For example, the home tab, if you click on it, the ribbon will appear. And on the ribbon, we have the clipboard group, the font group. So every tab has its own ribbon. Let's take a look at the data tab. The data tab, for example, has get and transform data group, queries and connections group, sort and filter group, data tools, forecast online. So there are many groups. We will be exploring this as we share what they perform. So inside every group, there are commands which are represented in icons. These icons here represent commands that when clicked will execute a given task. Okay, below the ribbon we have the name box. This is the name box. And then we have the formula bar. We'll get to know the function as we proceed. So Excel has got a spreadsheet. A spreadsheet consists of a grid of columns and rows. In a Microsoft Excel, the columns are identified with alphabets, like you can see. This is column A, column B, column C, like that. And then rows are identified with rows. Row 1, row 2, row 3, like that. Okay, so moving on, we need to get to understand what a column is. First of all, we've said columns are identified using alphabets, and we define them as column letters. So column letters run vertical on the worksheet, and each one is identified with a column letter. Now, there's this specific box here. This box here is known as a cell. You can consider a cell as an intersection point of a vertical column and a horizontal row. Exactly. So there are several boxes in our interface, but like we've said, all of them are known as cells. So every cell has got an address, and this address is the combination of a column letter and a row number. For example, this cell is a box which is colliding or intersecting with column B and row 3. So the name subsequently becomes B3. This is column got from column C and then row 5. So this is C5. Well, the address of the cell can be found in the name box that we earlier on saw. You can just always click in the box and then rush to the name box to get to know each cell address. So there are several boxes here, but each cell has got its own address. I think that is completed very importantly. Now, next we look at how do we save this Excel file. To save the Excel file, you click the File tab, and then you click Save As. When you click Save As, you'll have to browse where you want to save. So I'll click Browse, and I want to save my file on the desktop. Well, I'm going to create a folder quickly here. So I'm going to right-click on the desktop, select New, and then I'll give this folder as Excel files. and I want to save this file as Excel basics. So more importantly, when you browse, you select the location, select the folder where you want to save, if any. Then next you put a file name, very importantly, a name that will identify your file. Then the save as type. There are very many save as types, but for now I'm going to go with the Excel workbook that I'll be explaining shortly. And then you click save. Well, that's how we save a file. File tab, save as, browse, then you continue. Okay, we want to proceed to the next feature, what is going to look at how to navigate worksheets and workbook. Now, when you have Excel, you will have to understand what a worksheet and a workbook is. A workbook is a file that can contain multiple worksheets and other elements like charts, macro, and cell styles. And then a worksheet is a page in Microsoft Excel workbook. I want to quickly again show you. I'm going to take you to my desktop. And on my desktop, earlier on, we created a folder called Excel files. And so far, we have one workbook. That is Excel basics. We've said a workbook is a file. You can consider calling it a collection of worksheets. So when you create Excel files, we regard them as workbook. A payroll is a workbook, a budget is a workbook, and several other files that you create at the end of the day. So to create quickly a workbook, you can also just right-click inside your folder, select New, and then from this command, you choose Microsoft Excel worksheet. In this case, I want to name this as a class register. Let me save this as a class database. Okay, our class bank. I've saved it quickly as a class database. Then I'll double click to open it. So the entire file we have created is a workbook. And inside the workbook, we can create as many worksheets. Consider a worksheet as a page. For example, by default, here Excel gives us one sheet or one page. So to create a new worksheet, you just simply click the plus sign here and you'll have a new worksheet. So this is a page in a workbook. A worksheet is a page in a workbook, and a workbook is a collection of worksheets or a file that contains very many worksheets. That's very important. Next, I wish to share with you how we can work or manage these worksheets. Now, the first way of managing worksheets is by renaming them. Of course, I've already demonstrated to you how to create worksheets. So to rename this workbook, you take the cursor to it, right-click on the Sheet tab, and then select Rename. I'm going to rename this as a class register. Then still to rename, you right-click on the sheets, click Rename, and then let me save this as a class, the worksheet, class worksheet. So that's how we rename a worksheet for identification. Number two, in managing worksheets, you can also delete a worksheet when you're not interested in it. To delete a worksheet, you simply right-click. You right-click on the Sheet tab, and then you select Delete. That's how you delete a worksheet. You can also move your worksheet wherever you want to put it. Maybe you want to make it number last, or you want to put it in the middle. You drag it using your mouse. So I'm going to delete this sheet again. Right-click on the Sheet tab, and then select Delete. Well, one way of managing worksheet is by renaming, deleting, creating more. Then we can also change tab colors. Additional to identifying them with name, you can identify them using tab color. So how do you change tab color of a sheet? You right-click on the Sheet tab, Then go and select tab color. Choose the color of your choice with which you want that sheet to be identified, that tab exactly to be identified. So right click on the sheet tab, choose tab color, and then go and select the color with which you want to be to identify the sheet. So that's how we change the tab color. Well, next we're going to look at how to navigate through a worksheet, and that will be the final part in the second part. Now, we earlier on said Excel consists of a spreadsheet and columns are identified with alphabets. You can take a look. Then rows are identified using numbers. Boxes are known as cells, intersection of a column and a row. If this cell is selected, then we call it as an active cell. And usually there is a thick border around it. So to move to the next cell, we can either use the arrow key, the right arrow key, the left arrow key, wherever you want to take your cursor. You can also use tab key. Tab key on the keyboard allows us to move one cell to the right. If you want to move one cell to the left, you hold shift key and then use tab key. So shift tab moves one cursor to the left, and then tab moves one cell to the right. Then enter moves one cell to the bottom. You can see I'm pressing enter key on my keyboard and I'm moving the bottom. Then shift enter can move one cell to the top. Well, you can also use, like we said, a worksheet consists of very many columns. If you wish to navigate to the last column, you can hold Control key and use the right arrow key. So XFD here is the last cell or the last column, these ends. I can again press Control, the left arrow, to come back to the first cell. If I want to go to the bottom, I also can hold Control and then the bottom arrow key to go to the last row at the bottom. Again, Control, the up arrow can take me up to the first cell. That's how we navigate. So just to summarize these shortcuts as we move further for us to acquaint ourselves once more. We have the arrow keys. You can use them to move up, down, left, right. Then tab, then shift tab. Tab to the left, shift tab to the right, then shift tab to the left. Enter to the bottom, then shift enter to the right. Then we have control arrow keys. We have exhausted. You can use them to go to the edge or the last column of a worksheet, then the last cell of the last row of the worksheet, subsequently using the arrow keys. Then you can also use, finally, Control and Home to navigate from one worksheet to the other. For example, again to show you, this is class register. So if I want to move to the next worksheet, I have to press Control and page up, Control page up, then Control page down. Control page up, Control page down can take you to the next worksheet. So that's how we switch between different worksheets using the keyboard. Control page up, Control page down. Because the worksheet is a single page, don't forget our definition. Then a workbook is a collection of worksheets. All right, that's enough for that. We move to the next part of our video. And in this video, we're going to look at data entry and formatting basics. How do we enter data? That's very, very important. Okay, now entering data is a basic skill that I believe every other person here has at one moment performed. So in Microsoft Excel specifically, I have clicked in the cell A1. It is important you always first click in the cell you want to enter data, and then you enter data. Just take a look. If I wanted to have a class register there, I will have the first cell, take that content. Now, during entering data, you can use tab key to go to the next cell, like we have already explored, and then type in the next information by pressing the keyboard. Then again, press Tab key to continue. Keep typing all your content as you use the Tab key. Keep typing as you use the Tab key to move the next the next cell. Okay, while entering data, very importantly, like I desire to share with you, some contents may not fit in a particular cell. So at that very point, we're going to look at the first formatting feature on how to resize our columns and how to resize our rows. For example, here, student has not fitted the student name. So there are two ways of making this word fit. We can either expand the width of that column so that it is wide enough for all the content to be visible, or we can consider wrapping so that we just expand the row, but the column still remains. So let's begin with adjusting the column width. To adjust the column width, you select the column. That's very important. Move the cursor to the boundary. Now, when you reach the boundary, the mouse arrow automatically becomes a resizing handle. And when it becomes a resizing arrow, rather, you long press your left button and then drag. I want to undo. You take the cursor to the boundary. You can consider also just double clicking. Double clicking will automatically adjust that column to fit the name that you have added. Okay, that is how we adjust the width of a column. To also adjust the width of a row, you select the row, look for the resizing arrow. To get this resizing arrow, you move your cursor to the border. Move the cursor to the border. Automatically, when you reach the boundary or the border, the mouse arrow changes the resizing arrow. When you get that arrow, now you can long press your mouse and then increase it. That is to increase to expand it. So that's it with resizing. So I'm going to continue putting the content here. Just some few names. Let me have then two. I have okay. And lastly, I may have the content. Finally, for today's case, I have well, that is how we enter content in Excel. Now, maybe very important is Excel can support alphabets, which we always regard as text. Then Excel can support numerical data, the numbers, that I typed. When you type an alphabet, Excel will align it to the left. Then when you type digits on numerical data or values, Excel will align them to the right. All text data will be aligned to the left, and then values will be aligned to the right. That's very important. The other data types that Excel supports that will continue to look at later. Like you can observe also here, the content are still not fitting, so I can click on the column and then I go and expand it. So that's how we enter content in Excel, and that's how we resize columns and rows. Well, we want to also look at the other ways of formatting data, and Microsoft Excel can allow us to format data in different ways. The very first step in formatting data is by highlighting the content. Don't forget, highlight the content you want to format. And having highlighted, move the Home tab. So that you can observe, we're going to first utilize the font group in formatting data. In the font group, we can format, for example, by adding borders. You click the drop down arrow on border here from the font group, and there are many types of borders. Maybe let me choose all borders so that I have borders around my content. So highlight your data again, move to the the font. You can also format by changing font face that we have looked at earlier on. So you click the drop down arrow, still from the font group, but this time round on the font face, and then choose the font you wish to apply to your content. For example, me, I've chosen Tahoma. I just chose it by typing through it. Now, the other way of formatting data is by bolding. You highlight the columns you wish to bold and then select bolding. Okay. You can also format data, very, very importantly, by changing color, your highlights, and then go and choose the color in case you're interested in formatting color. Okay, you can also format data by aligning data in the given cell. Like take a look, I have here my cell, and this cell has got about 6 parts. We can align data at the left, we can align data bottom, center, you can align data on the right. This is horizontal alignment. Then we have also alignments, the vertical alignments. We have align to the top, align to the middle, and then align to the bottom. So those are the 6 alignments. Let me click on the left. This by default is left. You can see if I click top, if I click middle, the word comes in the middle. But that is when you have selected a cell, you selected a given cell. To format data, let me select all the headings, and I want them all to be in the middle. I want them to be in the middle as far as the vertical alignment is concerned. Also, the horizontal alignment, I put them in the center. So the first line in the alignment stands for horizontal alignment, then the other one are the vertical alignments. So that's how we format data. The other way we can format data is by orienting the data. To orient the data, that is select the headings, move to the alignment group that we are utilizing, and then now click on orientation to rotate text. So click the drop down arrow and then choose the type of orientation you wish to apply your data to. There are more types of, you can orient by putting it counterclockwise, angle clockwise, and you can make the word face vertically up or vertically down, depending on your preference. I would wish to make it angle clockwise, and then I will expand my column, rather my row, using the earliest method. I look for the resizing arrow, and then I expand. So, okay, that's my class register. And finally, I can just resize this row, resize the column to make it small. Formatting data is very, very good because it gives your cell an appearance of your choice. Before we move away from formatting, I want to show you some other important skills. If you wish to resize all these columns at once, always highlight all the columns, and then after highlighting them, you can use the resizing arrow. Let me try to highlight only these ones that have dates. Highlight all the columns, move your cursor to the border, like to the column letters, identify one of the border. Of course, I told you when you reach the boundary, the mouse arrow will change to a border. And then drag your mouse. If you drag your mouse, when the columns are selected, they will all be highlighted, or they will all be formatted in that very setting you have applied. Okay, I think that's very, very important for you as well. Finally, on formatting, in case you have formatted a given cell, like let's say I click on this cell, give it a bold shade, and then I put some color in it. I fill the color. So if you want all these cells to have the similar formatting, we can use a tool which is called Format Painter. So Format Painter is a very powerful tool. It helps us to copy formatting from one cell to the other. How do we use the format painter to copy formatting? Step 1, select the cell which has the formatting of your preference. Then move your cursor to the clipboard group and click the format painter. After you have selected format painter, then go and either highlight all the cells you want to copy the formatting to, or click on that particular cell. For our case, we want all these cells below the name which is highlighted be of a similar formatting, like take the same fill which is yellow at that very point. So what do? I will again go and highlight all these cells, and boom, all of them will take the same formatting. So you can copy formatting from one cell to another using the format painter, this very powerful tool. So formatting allows us to copy formatting from one cell to the other, and you've looked at it. The other very important feature I cannot let it go is wrap text. Take a look. If I type content in a given cell, I type content in a given cell, and it does not fit. For example, I've typed Kruger Sogisha in this cell, but you observe the word does not fit there. So what Excel has done is the word has cut across other cells. So what we do in this circumstance, there are two options. You can either expand the column width to make the word fit there, or we can wrap text. Wrap text instead expands the row in that cell. So you may wish to make this word fit there without expanding the column. So click on the cell, go to the alignment group, and then click on wrap text. You observe the word has now fitted there. Okay, then how do we add new rows and new columns to our sheets? To add new rows, you select at the point where you want to add a new row. For example, take a case scenario where I want to add a row on top to take the heading. I select one, that is to choose the entire row. Remember, I gave emphasis that rows are identified with numbers, and if you're going to insert a row, you need to select that row, the point at which that row should be created, and then right click and then select insert. That's how you add a new row. You can also, after clicking on one, move the home tab, go to the group of cells, click the drop down arrow on insert, and then choose sheet rows. Two options, either right click or you navigate to the home tab and then the cell group. How do you add a column? For example, if I wanted to add a column between C and D, actually, if I wanted to add a column after name to be the class of that very sheet or that register, I click on a column after. If you want to add a column between B and C, click on a column after, that is C. Then right click on C and then select insert. So I'm going to call this class, so that here we'll put the classes of the students there. I've also tried to reduce it so that it is small. Then finally, how do we merge cells? Of course, one of the formatting feature is merge. And to merge is to put together or to combine. So before you merge, select the cells you want to combine. Select the cells you want to combine. And after selecting them, move to the home tab, the alignment group here, and then click merge. You can observe merge has put together those cells. So we're going to call this as P1 class register as our heading. And you can later on go and bold, you can change the font type here quickly, you can increase the size in case you wish to do that, and several other features that we have looked at may apply accordingly. And this class here, I'm going to put P1 still, and I can copy this across. I can click on the first cell, click copy, and then I can highlight everywhere where I want that P1 to be, and then I go and click paste. Okay, so that's how we use, that's how we enter data, and that's how we can format data. In the later videos, I will explore more ways of formatting data, but for now, those are the few ways I've highlighted in this class. In other words, basics. There are more other videos coming ahead. Okay, in our next part of the video, before we wrap it up, we're going to look at how we can perform calculations. Well, like we defined at the very start, Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet used to perform calculations. We can perform calculations using either formulae or functions. One is a formula, and very many are called formulae. Related even one is a function, and many are called functions. Well, a formula is a mathematical expression used to perform calculation, or we can say formula is used to express mathematical relationship between cells. On the other hand, functions are shortcuts, are pre-programmed formulae that are used to perform calculations. Okay, now I want to make very important examples. I want you to look at this workbook. In this workbook, I have one of the column which has order date, the other column has customer, the other column has product, and then the other column has quantity. Then we have price. We were required to obtain total. So total is a calculated column. To calculate here, you now need to either utilize a formula or use a function. If you're using a formula, then you will have to build it yourself using the following rules. Rule number one, all formulae and function must begin with equal sign. When using the formula to perform calculation, we use operators. The plus is for addition, the asterisk is for multiplication, the forward slash is for division, and the minus is for subtraction. Then rule number two, very importantly, is when performing calculation, we use cell addresses. For example, here total will be obtained by multiplying quantity by price. So the first rule is you put the equal sign, then put the first content. In this case, is cell having 10, which is identified from column D, and row 2, which is D2. Then multiply is the operation we're utilizing for multiplication, this asterisk, and then the other cell is E2. So equals D2 times E2. Once pressed enter, if we click OK, we'll obtain the total of this part. So this is a formula that has been entered here to perform calculations. Okay, then finally, also about function, before we jump into the practical, we have defined a function as a pre-programmed formula or a shortcut used to perform calculations. There are parts of a function which are very important. Like you observed in a formula, all formula and function all must begin with equal sign. But very special now, for a function, immediately after the equal sign, you put the function name. So an example here is sum. Sum, like we will note later on, is used for addition. Then immediately after the function name, you open parentheses, and inside the parentheses, you put the function argument. The argument here would take what you're going to calculate. You list here either the addresses you're adding, or you make a range like you note down. Okay, let us jump to the practical and I demonstrate to you how we'll do that. So I'm going to copy this name here and I take them the other side. So what I do is I highlight my data, all the data that I have. For example, here I'm highlighting the student's name, then the serial number. After highlighting, I go to the Home tab, Clipboard Group, click Copy. Then after that, how do you know you've copied? This mark will always move around your cell, your highlighted text to really affirm that work has been duplicated. Then click on the sheet where you want to paste the content. So click in the cell where you wish to begin pasting from. Then go and click the drop down arrow on paste. So there are many ways of pasting that we will cover later on. You can paste with formatting, you can just paste the values, and those are the various ways of formatting of pasting. Okay? For now, I just want to choose one of the way that we'll explore later. I'm going to paste without formatting. I'm going to paste randomly here without formatting. I'm going to paste without formatting. So just to undo a little bit. Come here and then I click on paste without formatting. So I have some quick subjects I randomly want to work with. This is English, and please allow me to put it here quickly. English, and this is science. This is SST, Social Studies. And then here I want to put in some random math. 89, 67, 58, and then 56. Subsequently, 58, 59, and then lastly put 70 there. 58, 69, and then 76. 59, 58, 69, and then 80. We have 58, 78, and then 82. Okay, so how do we expand the column width? I told you we click on the column and then you go and double click on the border like I demonstrated earlier on. So in our case, we have a class mark sheet taking those sample records, sample rows. We want to obtain the total here, and later on we want to obtain the average and other content accordingly. So how do we perform calculations after you have typed your content? There are lots of ways how we perform calculation that we'll be exploring. So the first way is using a formula, a mathematical expression to perform calculation. We said you must begin with the equal sign, and after you put the equal sign, you move to the cell. For example, here, Dennis Kruger is the first student. His mark in English is 89. Just a little bit here. So his mark in English is 89. The very other rule I put emphasis was, instead of writing 89 here, it is important you use the cell address. In this case, the cell address for English here is D2. So I type D2, and then I put a plus sign, which is our operator we are using for addition. Then his mark is E2, because it is from column E, and then row 2. So type E2, put a plus sign. Then we have science, also subsequently is F2, so put F2. And finally, this is from G and then a row 2. So this is plus sign and then G2. So whatever we have written is a formula. If we press enter, wow, it has obtained for us the total mark. Well, we can also add using a formula, but now using this approach. Put the equal sign, move your mouse and click on the mark you're adding, put a plus sign, click on the other mark, put a plus sign, click on the other mark for generate, put a plus sign and click the other mark. And after that, press enter. Okay, that is how we perform calculation using a formula. For good organization, you can even use parentheses. You put equal sign, open brackets, then click on the mark you're adding, put a plus sign, click on the other mark, put a plus sign, click on the other mark, put a plus sign, and then close brackets. So all formulae here are correct, and that's how we obtain the total. Well, I also want to look at the other way of performing calculations here for us to use total, rather to obtain total. So we can as well use our function. The functions are pre-programmed formula, the shortcuts that exist in Excel that would simplify calculation. You know, it comes from the fact that in later times you'll be performing calculation and the columns are very many, or the content you're adding is very many. So by the time you complete writing that, you'll have gotten tired. So the formula can become cumbersome, can become big. So shortcuts, rather function come in as shortcuts to simplify calculations. So to add using the function, we put equal sign like we agreed, then write the function name, which is open brackets, and then now put in the cells. You can always note that whenever you're writing a function, Excel always suggests for you the function arguments to give you the syntax on how that function should be utilized. Like here they say after opening parentheses, you have to be selecting the numbers as you put commas until all are done. So equals sum, open brackets, click on the first mark. For example, here, Dennis's English mark is D2. Put a comma, then his other mark is mark E2, put a comma, then either other mark is science, which is F2, put a comma, and then finally the other mark is SST, then close brackets. So equals sum D2, comma E2, E, comma F2, G2 is the function that we are going to use to do the calculation. So like we said, the function has the following parts: the equal sign, the function name, then in brackets we have the function arguments. So if I press enter, I will obtain the same answer that I utilized before when adding using a formula. You note that instead of using the cells, separating them with commas, you can, after putting the equal sign with sum and then open brackets, you can always as well highlight all the marks that you wish to add. Equals sum, then highlight all the marks. When you highlight, Excel will form what is called a range. The word range means a combination of adjacent cells. How does Excel form the range? It picks the mark from the first cell and then it picks the mark from the last cell, separated by the colon. Okay, so when I close brackets and I press enter, I will obtain the same answer. Now, once you have got the answer for one of the value, we can use a feature which is called autofill handle to copy that formula elsewhere. So how do you use the autofill handle to replicate the formula elsewhere? So click on the cell, move your cursor to the bottom right boundary, and once you reach there and get the autofill handle, the autofill handle is normally this black plus sign you're observing on my screen. This plus the black sign. Then when you obtain it, you can either double click or long press the left button on your mouse and then drag elsewhere. Okay, let's quickly look at how we obtain average. Obtaining average as two ways. We either use a formula or using a function. If you're using a formula, you put equal sign, add the values, then divide by the number of values. For example, I will open brackets, add the values, close brackets, then divide by the number of values. The average or the mean is obtained by summation of the values divided by the number of values. So the values, there are 4. We sum them and then divide by the number. So this is the formula. We can also randomly make simplicity. For total, since we already have total here, which is sum of the values, we'll put equal sign, click on the total we have obtained previously, put the division sign, and then put, because sum of the value is the same as total, then divide by the number of values. Then finally, we can also do the same calculation using a function. And in this case, the function for getting average is known as average equals average. Then open brackets. After that, you list the cells that you're going to take the average, beginning with the first cell, separate it with a comma, separate it with a comma, and then separate with a comma, and then close brackets. Equals average here, D2, comma, E2, comma, if all the cells you're going to add, then press enter. Finally, still, you can use the same function, which is average, but instead of listing the cells, you can just highlight the cells you're going to obtain average from. That's it all for the functions. So I believe there are more functions I'll be teaching you. I'll be showing you how they are helpful in performing calculation, including formally. We'll construct a payroll and utilize very many formulas. This has been a basic video just to give us an introduction of what Excel does, its interface, and few formatting features. Thank you for watching. Well, if you consider this video very helpful, you can hit the subscription button below this video. Well, you can also hit the notification bell just after the subscription button so that you receive notification whenever new videos have been added. And that's it for today. Here, guys. See you in the next video. Thank you.